Good evening, everyone. It is 6:00 p.m. on Tuesday, February the 11th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting of the Peoria City Council to order. I'd also like to welcome everyone who's here in our historic City Council chambers, as well as our listening audience at WCBU. Welcome also to our audience watching on cable channel 22. Madam Clerk, the council mics are open. Please call the roll.
Mayor Ali,
Present.
Councilmember Allen,
Present.
Councilmember Sear,
Here.
Councilmember Gordon Young,
Present.
Councilmember Graham,
Here.
Councilmember Jackson, here, Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Euler,
Here.
Councilmember Velpula,
Present.
and Councilmember Vespa.
Here.
A notice was received by Councilmember Riggenbach of the City Council in accordance with rules established in ordinance number 16,142. Councilmember Riggenbach would be deemed authorized to attend the meeting electronically unless a motion objecting to Councilmember Riggenbach's electronic attendance is made, seconded, and approved by 2/3 of the members of the City Council physically present at the meeting. If no such motion is made and seconded, then the request by Councilmember Riggenbach to attend electronically shall be deemed approved by the City Council, and the presiding officer shall declare Councilmember Riggenbach present. Hearing no objections, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Riggenbach,
Here.
you have a quorum present, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
thank you. Please join me, everyone, and stand for a moment of silent prayer or silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk?
We need the notice of the township electors, please.
Okay. This is a notice to our township electors pursuant to Public Act 095-0761. If you desire to have an item considered on the agenda at the annual town meeting to be held Tuesday, April 8th at 6:00 p.m., you are required to bring a specific request signed by 15 or more electors to the township clerk's office no later than March 1st, 2025. Any group of registered voters may request an advisory question of public policy for consideration by the electors at the annual meeting by giving written notice of the specific advisory question to the township clerk in the same manner as required for an agenda item under subsection B of section 30-10 of the Township Code. Madam Clerk?
We are at proclamations.
We have two proclamations tonight. The first acknowledges National Engineers Week, and we have Ms. Kade Diallo Sutherland, who is President-elect of the Society of Women Engineers Central Illinois Section, and we also have Colleen Walsh, Society of Women Engineers Central Illinois Section Outreach Committee Co-Chair. Ladies, would you come to the podium? Okay. Our proclamation reads, whereas the Society of Women Engineers, SWE, founded in 1950, is a nonprofit educational and service organization that is the driving force that established engineering as a highly desirable career aspiration for women. And whereas SWE empowers women to succeed and advance in their aspirations while receiving recognition and credit for their life-changing contributions and achievements as engineers and leaders in our community. And whereas the Central Illinois section of SWE, comprised of 250 members, has focused on outreach, professional development, advocacy, and work-life integration for the past 33 years. And whereas in 1951, the National Society of Professional Engineers created National Engineers Week to draw attention to the contributions that engineers make on our society. And whereas this year, National Engineers Week will be held February the 16th through February the 22nd. Central Illinois section of SWE will partner with the Peoria Riverfront Museum again on February 16, 2025, to celebrate National Engineers Week with an open house for students from elementary school through high school with an interest in science and math. Several professional societies will also participate. Now, therefore, I, Rita Ali, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby recognize the Central Illinois section of the Society of Women Engineers for their support and advocacy of National Engineers Week in Peoria, Illinois.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Ali, council members. My name is Kadei Diallo Sutherland, and I am the current president-elect of the Society of Women Engineers, Central Illinois. As stated in your introduction, the Society of Women Engineers, SWE, is a not-for-profit educational and service organization founded in 1950 after World War II. Our Central Illinois section, SWE-CI, was chartered in 1992 and is currently comprised of at least 250 members, all of whom live in or within the surrounding communities of Peoria, Bloomington, Springfield, Champaign-Urbana, and Decatur, including our collegiate sections at Bradley University and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Overall, our mission and goal is to empower women to aspire, advance, and achieve careers as engineers and leaders. We also strive to expand the image of engineering and technology professions as a positive force in the quality of life and as a highly desirable career target for both current and prospective members. SWE-CI is dedicated to making meaningful impact in our local communities and the lives of our members. Most of this is achieved via multiple events planned throughout the year, many of which are organized by our executive board and committees, which include professional development, advocacy, work-life integration, awards and nomination, membership, communications, finance, and outreach. Each year, we raise money to increase our scholarship endowment so that we can support more students who are pursuing careers in engineering and tech. In 2024, our section awarded $2,250 for a college student residing here in Central Illinois. Thanks to the financial support of Caterpillar and the SWE program development grants, our outreach committee has connected thousands of K-12 students within our community to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. For the sake of time, please visit us at www.centralillinois.swe.org or connect with us on Facebook if interested in learning more or joining our section. Now, Colleen will give a brief insight on outreach and the upcoming Engineering Day activities at the Peoria Riverfront Museum this Sunday.
Great.
Thank you, Kadei, and good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Walsh, and as mentioned, I am the co-chair of the Outreach Committee for SWE-CI. Our Outreach Committee works with several local organizations around the year, with our volunteers hosting activities with a STEM focus to inspire students of all ages. For examples from this past year, we've collaborated and volunteered with the Peoria Playhouse at their Women's History Month program, the Girl Scouts for their annual Big Tap Campout and our seminar events, and Career Spark 2024. And as mentioned, we're kicking off 2025 with Engineering Day this Sunday at the Peoria Riverfront Museum. Our committee is hosting a wide range of fun and educational STEM activities, including a tessellation light puzzle, paper helicopters, human electrical circuit, disc spinners, and a return of the sink and float station, and more. If you have the chance, please stop by and say hi.
What are the times again, Ms. Walsh?
It starts at 11:30 to 5.
8:30 to 5?
Around
11.
noon to 5.
Okay, great, great. Thank you, ladies, for your leadership and for being a great example in our community.
Thank you.
Our next and last proclamation recognizes Black History Month. Whereas the city of Peoria celebrates Black History Month and recognizes the people of African descent that have been a part of our community since 1773, when Jean-Baptiste Point de Sabo purchased land here, according to historian Romeo B. Garrett. And whereas in recognizing the need to acknowledge and celebrate the achievements of Black Americans, historian Carter G. Woodson developed Negro History Week in 1926, and this expanded to become Black History Month. And whereas since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. February was chosen primarily because the second week of the month coincides with the birthdays of both Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. Lincoln was influential in the emancipation of slaves, and Douglass, a former slave, was a prominent leader in the abolitionist movement which fought to end slavery. Whereas the theme of this year's Black History Month, as chosen by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, is African Americans and Labor, focusing on the various and profound ways that work and working of all kinds intersect with the collective experience of Black people in the U.S. and beyond. And whereas this month is the time for all Americans to reflect on the rich history and teaching of Black Americans, whose contributions to our economic, cultural, political, and social development are vast. And whereas the city of Peoria is proud to honor the history and contributions of Black Americans in our community throughout our state and our nation. Now, therefore, I, Rita Ali, Mayor of the City of Peoria, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize February 1st through March 1st as Black History Month in Peoria, Illinois. Madam Clerk?
We are at the approval of the minutes.
Councilmember Allen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the City Council meeting held on January 28th, 2025, as printed.
Seconded by Councilmember Gordon Young. Any questions, comments? Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Riggenbach?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
We have one town item. 25-25 is a request from the town officials to approve the January 2025 actual expenditures and to approve the February 2025 anticipated expenditures for the town of the city of Peoria.
Trustee Graham?
Move to approve as outlined.
Seconded by Councilmember Jackson, Trustee Jackson. Any questions or comments? Please cast your ballots. Trustee Riggenbach?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
We are at the consent agenda. 25-26 is a communication from the city manager and director of public works with a request to approve an agreement to transfer ownership of a sanitary sewer between Elmwood Avenue and Duray Place from the city of Peoria to Bradley University. 25-27 is a communication with a request to approve a permanent easement agreement for access to the Rock Island Trail from 5720 North Knoxville Avenue as requested by HGSM Enterprises, LLC. 25-28 is a communication with a request to authorize the city manager to execute the collective bargaining agreement between the city of Peoria and the Peoria Police Benevolent Association to cover the period from January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2027. 25-29 is a communication with a request for the following. A, approve an agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the city's participation in the D4 Electrical 2024 project in Peoria, Fulton, Knox, Tazewell, Warren, and Woodford counties. And B, approve a funding resolution for the city's cost participation in the D4 Electrical 2024 in the amount of $8,855 plus contingencies. And 25-30 is a communication with a request to adopt an ordinance approving the real estate purchase of various parcels along May Street between Maple and Oak in the city of Peoria from BNSF Railway Company. And that concludes our consent agenda.
Thank you. Are there any items to remove from consent, council? Councilmember Seer,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move to approve.
seconded by Councilmember Allen. Any questions or comments? Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Riggenbach,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
We are at regular business. 25-31 is a communication from the City Manager and Director of Public Works with a request to approve the sole source purchase of Econolite traffic cabinets from Traffic Control Corporation in the amount of $100,000. And this item requires 2/3 vote of council members voting, no less than 6 votes. And also on your desk, there is a handout in yellow.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a repeat of what we did last year where we purchased $100,000 worth of the electrical cabinets. These cover up the traffic signal electrical boxes. They're kind of magnets for traffic accidents when cars hit them and then we have to replace them. And this just makes sure that we have an inventory on place. And it's a sole source contract. That's the reason why it's here on the regular agenda.
Okay. Any questions for the manager? Can I get a motion to approve? Moved by Councilmember Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Allen. Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Riggenbach,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
25-23 is a communication from the City Manager and Director of Public Works with a request to adopt an ordinance to approve updates in Chapter 9.5, Section 19-142, and Chapter 31 of the Code of the City of Peoria to improve stormwater management policies and procedures.
Mr. Manager, I'm going to call on Councilmember Seer, but did you want to comment on this first?
As we mentioned when this was under first reading, we're updating the stormwater utility ordinance, making the periodic adjustments that we have just to the precipitation frequency tables that are updated by the Illinois State Water Survey, some changes to the mobile home development to comply with some changes in that section, and then definitions for penalties and enforcement mechanisms to prohibit the discharge of stormwater onto different properties. So that's what the document covers.
Okay. Councilmember Seer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to defer this item, number 25-023, to the March 11, 2025 meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Seconded by Councilmember Euler. Any comments or questions? Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Riggenbach,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
25-32 is a communication from the City Manager and Finance Director Comptroller with a request to receive and file the month ended December 31, 2024, unaudited financial report.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to turn the floor over to our Finance Director, Kyle Craddy, to walk through the monthly financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. The report in your packet was for December 31st, 2024. The one item I just will say before I start going through a few of the highlights is this is not the finalized number for what the 2024 year will be. There are additional revenues and to a lesser extent potentially some additional expenses that will come in as we start preparing for our audit. Our audit is going to be starting here at the end of February and kicking off heavily in March, so we'll be going through that process. And I anticipate having a relatively finalized number of what 24 will look like in April. In terms of some of the highlights right now, general fund revenues are down 13.8%. That number obviously would pop off and would cause some concern. But really looking at where those sources, where some of that kind of revenue is down, those are sources that we anticipate receiving funds over the next really the next couple months. That will alleviate that and put us in line with what we had anticipated during the budget process. We'd end the year. Expenses are currently down about 4.7%. Like I said, there will be a few more expenses that come in over the next few months, but I don't anticipate that's going to put us in a position where we have spent more than we had budgeted to spend. So I think we're still in a good spot from that standpoint. The only other item I would point the attention to everyone to is really just one item I don't talk about a lot is kind of the cash flow position. We have had cash flow dip a little bit. Really, one of the keys with that is our bond payments come out in the month of December. That usually is about $15 to $17 million because the final payment of the year is our principal payments. So that is why you've seen that number drop from what had been kind of consistently that 185 number down to about 169. That number will continue to drop as we do have planned spending, but I kind of wanted to explain that because you kind of do see the dip in the month of December. And with that, I'm available if council has any specific questions on the report.
Thank you for those explanations. Councilmember Seer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Director Craddy. Sorry we didn't get a chance to meet today, but you pretty much answered a lot of the question. If you just explain to all of us difference between accrual and cash, please.
Yeah, so the financial report that's presented to you, we presented on the accrual basis of accounting. So accrual basis means we account for it for the month that it was intended to be accounted for. So things like state sales tax, state income tax. For example, with state sales tax, there's a 3-month lag between collection from the business and remittance to us at the city. So we will book, at this point, still an additional 2 months of sales tax receipts compared to what's on this report because they were intended to be for January. From a cash basis standpoint, you're looking at receipts being accounted for at the time we collect them. And so we do treat our finances on that basis on a month-to-month basis, but when we do get to year end, we do convert things to the modified or full accrual basis depending on what fund it's in.
Thank you very much for this explanation. On the top 4, I believe, in our report, all the home rule sales tax, state sales tax, and income tax, and personal property replacement tax, they're all up except, obviously, the PPRT. My question is, all of them are up compared to last year. Any chances for you to use some numbers? Just example, home rural sales tax. It says we have $29 million versus $29.4 last year. So we're up a little bit compared to last month, right? But we never talked really about, or maybe I don't see it there, we never talked about compared to the current budget though. So we're up compared to month from last December, we are up just a little bit, but how are we doing compared to the 24 budget?
Yeah, so those charts are on the cash basis because what we want to do is kind of have that cash comparison. And so this is why I know I've probably been a little bit of a broken record when I've been up here over the last few months saying we still are on track, even though some of the numbers have shown that maybe we're falling behind. And it's because on a cash basis, those revenue sources are coming in above last year, which on a lot of these sources, we had actually budgeted to see a slight decline in those revenue sources. So it really is that 2-month lag on sales, that 3-month lag on sales tax, 2-month lag on income tax. That's accounting for why you're seeing that difference on kind of the general report, which is on the accrual basis, versus those that are on the cash basis.
Okay. On page 8 of 10, I highlighted one of your comment there that I will read. So the city will need to take extra caution if the current cash flow starts to dip below trend. The reason I want to read this because a couple weeks ago, our president, Mr. Trump, gave us a scare about some cuts, and the next day everything was cleared. Now I am a little nervous in the news lately from our governor talking about maybe having a $3 billion deficit this year budget and maybe up to $20 million the next 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. But that makes me nervous for the city of Peoria, because obviously a lot of revenues come from the state. How nervous are you about when you hear those numbers on TV or radio? It makes me nervous. How nervous are you?
I think there's always, for me, a little level of nervousness when we do have the other governments around us that are in positions of cutting funds, because I think, to your point, unfortunately, they do have a trickle-down effect a lot of times. If in terms of anything that's established that I know that maybe the state of Illinois is talking about at this point, and really none of that's been hashed out at this point. But it's something that obviously we monitor, it's a concern, and it's something that we will continue to advocate with IML as well as our legislators to make sure that we are keeping the revenues that we are intended to get per the budget, per previous budgets as well as state statute.
Director Craddy, thank you very much. I believe 2024 is a great year. Thank you for all your work, and City Manager, same. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would move to accept the report that's finally received.
Seconded by Councilmember Gordon Young. Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Craddy, we're talking about in the case of the home rule sales tax and other items on a cash, we do it on a cash basis. Mm-hmm. Last February, does this bar represent money earned in 23 that came in 24?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Welcome. We have a motion to receive and file. If there's no other questions, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Riggenbach?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Director Craddy. Nice job, as usual. All right, Madam Clerk.
We are at unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished
We
business?
have no unfinished business.
Okay, then we're on to new business.
Okay. I have a new business item, but I'll wait to hear from council. Councilmember Kelly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Manager, as you know, I'm a fan of free downtown parking. I'd like to meet with you. I can't quite break out the revenue that we receive from parking meters. And if you and I could meet, I'm going to be downtown Thursday at Distillery Labs. I wonder if you could, if you and I could set up a time on Thursday.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Any other new business items?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Riggenbach?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to recognize and thank actually Associated Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery Group. We approved an item granting them an easement to the Rock Island Trail earlier this evening. And I think that the investment that they made in their beautiful new facility there on the old, I'm old enough to still call it the old American Pie site, is something that we need to recognize. This is a great investment for our community. And what they're doing here is allowing access to the Rock Island Trail from their parking lot. So not only is that a nice feature for their employees and patients, but the general public as well. So you can ride your bike or take a stroll to the oral surgery office now. I think it's worth noting also that this will be done at their expense and they are responsible for the maintenance. But I did want to thank them publicly for that investment here in our heart of our city. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Very good. Councilmember Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I just want to first of all thank Police Chief Peoria for your department's leadership in the latest situation with regards to the shooting at River West last weekend. I wanted to bring to your attention, I met with the city manager yesterday in our monthly meeting, and we talked about, I mentioned some longstanding issues with regards to lighting. I have been hearing from residents for a couple of years about dark areas in and around River West. And, unfortunately, with things being as dark as they are, people are kind of concerned about coming out. But, Mr. Manager, after we met yesterday, I got a phone call last night. And I just want to, this raises the need for the urgency to address this matter. I got a phone call from a woman whose daughter lived over there, and she talked about some young people attempting to break into her car. This was 3:30 yesterday evening after we met. And so I had talked to the city manager about the need to talk to PHA about addressing these issues with regards to lighting and security. And I still believe that if we could do something to try to create a situation where maybe some of these property management companies would be required to have security on premises, especially in areas that are vulnerable to these types of incidents. I think we would do ourselves a lot in the long run in terms of preventing future incidents like this. So I look forward to the opportunity to meet with you and Madam Mayor and the director at the PHA to address this issue as soon as possible.
Very good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay. On Tuesday, February the 25th, which is the date of our next city council meeting, we actually have a lack of agenda items to hold a meeting on that day. So we would request, I would request a cancellation of the meeting. However, it's still important that we come together because we're working on the manager's performance evaluation. And it would be good to get that done in February without taking it into March. So what I'm going to propose is that we not have a regular scheduled meeting, but we meet at 5 o'clock in executive session to get the manager's performance evaluation completed so that we complete it in February. Thank you, everyone on council, for providing your feedback to his 360 evaluation process. Councilmember Grant?
Manager, is River West under the aegis of PHA?
It is.
Also, in reference to lighting, unfortunately, we know that it's not going to be a panacea. We still have the horrible crime that was committed way out in District 5 with the gentleman shot to death when he responded because his car burglar alarm system went off because of marauding people wearing masks in that area to the south of where the apartments were on Scrimshaw. And I know that the chief of police has repeatedly stated, certainly in District 2, neighborhood association meetings, that if you hear something going on outside and you see people who are potentially car burglars, do not confront them on your own. Call the police. Because some of these folks are armed and very dangerous. Chief, did I say that correctly? Don't do it yourself. Thank you.
You're welcome. Madam Clerk?
We are at citizens' opportunity to address the city council.
Okay, thank you. We have one resident that's going to address, and that's Tara Wood. Ms. Wood? I said it right that time, didn't I?
I'll respond either way. It's fine. Good evening, Honorable Dr. Mayor Ali, Honorable Council members. I should start by saying what I didn't say last time, which is thank you for awarding Lula a grant that will reimburse them for placing those who were in the encampments in a motel. So thanks to all of the council members for voting for that support. I don't think anyone will argue that this is a Band-Aid. However, a Band-Aid is the only humane and compassionate solution in a city that has not yet adequately addressed like our housing insecurity issues. We have shelters that are over capacity, and now we've criminalized sleeping in public. So I think that Band-Aid was really the only solution. So now while the Band-Aid is on and these folks are healing, and they really are healing, and I can see that, I can attest to that firsthand. I've been there several times. Let's figure out how we can prevent the wound in the first place. So thank you all again for voting in favor of keeping our unhoused neighbors safe and providing them with some stability and peace of mind, if only temporarily while working on some longer term solutions. So thank you. The other thing I'd like to talk about is Minecraft. You'll see where I'm going. So I play Minecraft with my son, he's 7, and it's really fun, kind of addicting, and I usually just try to keep it in creative mode because I don't like zombies killing me, because I'm usually stressed out from the day anyway, doing work and campaigning and stuff like that. So one time he was like finished playing, and I was like, well, I still want to build my house. And he's like, okay, so he leaves it on like his computer, and I don't know how all this works, and I'm able to still play on the laptop, and so I'm still building my house. It's like, oh, I got like a bed next to a waterfall, and I'm like making a jacuzzi, and it's like, I don't know, it's just fun and creative. Well, anyway, then somebody like enters his world, I guess one of his friends, and like then starts destroying my house, probably not knowing that this is like Luum's mom, like not Luum playing. And then he like blew up Luum's house. Oh, my son, Luum. Anyway, so I tell my son, I'm like, Luum, somebody is like blowing up my house and destroying my bed next to and he comes and he's like, oh, this is my friend, so-and-so. And we float down and look at his house, and it's just completely destroyed. And he's like, Mom, how will I ever rebuild this house? And I am seriously bummed. And some of you may know where I'm going with this. I still didn't know where I was gonna end up with this thing that happened that I thought was kind of tragic. And I was like looking in his house, and I was like, there's like motorcycle parts over here, and there's like a couch over here, and there's a hole here, and water's coming up, and it's just totally destroyed. And then my house, which wasn't as destroyed, but still I was like, I didn't have my wall that was a big window was destroyed. And it wasn't until like later on that night, like I got over it because I'm an adult, but like later on that night, I was thinking about it again, probably because I was like, is this a really good friend if the friend comes in and destroys the house? But I was thinking about it, and I was like really thinking of how devastating it was to come and see a house destroyed. And then that's when I was thinking to keep our minds still on what's happening in Palestine and in Gaza. And right now they are going back, and there has been a ceasefire, and I think everybody's very happy with that. But, when I see the images, I didn't really, I don't know, I guess you just can't comprehend. If you've never had your house exploded or something, but when I see them come to their houses, I'm thinking, well, at least they're still alive, and I just don't see how. I'm like, okay, that's really sad, but you can rebuild. But if I was as devastated over my house being exploded in a Minecraft game, I can't imagine what that was like. So I don't know, just sort of like a little anecdotal story, just because I still want us to be thinking about some of the things that are happening over there, and that a lot of things are under international law, still war crimes that are happening, and not to take our eye off the ball, I guess. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Madam Clerk?
We are at executive session.
Okay. So there's two motions I'm going to ask for. First, I would like to invite a motion to cancel the regular city council meeting scheduled for Tuesday, February 25th, due to a lack of agenda items, and to instead convene in closed session on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, at 5:00 p.m. pursuant to the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 120/2C1 to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, or performance of specific employees, and pursuant to the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 122C11 to discuss pending litigation. Moved by Councilmember Allen, seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Riggenbach?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And then second, I would ask to invite a motion to adjourn and to convene in closed session immediately following adjournment of the city council meeting pursuant to Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 122C1 to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, or performance of specific employees pursuant to Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 122C11 to discuss pending litigation, and pursuant to the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 122C21 for approval of the body of closed session minutes and semi-annual review of closed session minutes. Moved by Councilmember Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Velpula. Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Riggenbach?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for your service.